Most of your days are good days compared to, folks who are forced to pick cotton and worrying about being lynched and beaten to death. Most of your days are good days, and so therefore we can do a lot more good than we do.
All right, guys, welcome back to Beyond the Science Live. We're here at the APF Conference going through with our speakers. We ran into Van Jones. He gave us a few minutes of his time. Welcome to the show. Let's welcome to the show, fella. So, Van, I see you doing a panel on science and autism, a thoughtful discussion. You got Lori on, Steve Wolf, and Amy Gravino. Can you just quickly talk to us about what y'all going to dive into today?
It used to be that science was just science. It was objective. It was not political. Doesn't mean it was always right, but it was at least always respected. Now, science itself has become a source of controversy. And you have people like RFK Jr., who is, he has his own science. I don't know how he got to make up his own science, but that's a hell of a power move. And he's in his science, he says, I can solve this problem by September 1st. And you're like, what scientific discovery works off of a calendar invite? And so we have to really come back to the drawing board to try to help people understand that there is a methodology called science. Now, look, reality is during COVID, I think the scientific establishment lost a lot of credibility. Because they were leaning so far toward protection and almost beating you down if you ask a question about, third graders are not really getting COVID that much. Can you get them out my house? I'm really tired of these people running around here. Can we please have some schools open? Yeah. No. And so I think that once you have a big life-changing, civilization-changing emergency like COVID, and then you handle it with 100% concern for stopping the spread, but you don't manage the educational impacts. You don't manage, the people who have to be out there on these, trucks and showing up with, with the Ubers and the Lyfts to drop off the food in the Instacart. Now you don't have the credibility. And so we're going to talk about that.
I love that. What do you think about that when you hear that, Coop?
I think that we don't talk about enough the effects of COVID to today. I think it's not over. I think it's still something that we're going through, even the effects of kids being caught back up in the school system. Yep. I appreciate, who you are and the voice that you have to come and have these discussions and, even taking the time to be on our platform today, because I think enough of these conversations aren't being had and they are extremely important right now. So especially even the thing which you made about RFK, which I about the other day, it's outrageous. The things that he's saying, but there's a lot of people who aren't aware of what autism is that's going to hear that and kind of run with it. Mm-hmm. So it's a rough place to be in,
Yeah. What about you, Joe?
I mean, I agree. And I think objectively, we have to bring that back, right? Because I know that RFK kind of said that the new rates of autism just kind of commingling the two is that 1 in 31. And that 1 in 31 just affects the world a little bit different, especially the U.S., especially different cultural backgrounds and ethnic groups too as well. So I think just understanding how science we have to stay objective, and especially when dealing with kids on the spectrum, because that's what we kind of work with.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I worry that when he says, it's an epidemic, blah, blah, blah. And he gave his speech, he's like, if you have autism, you'll never throw a football. You'll never go on a date. I'm
yes. That's not true.
Being autistic is not being paraplegic. Right. What are you talking about? Yeah. I mean, how does that impact young people when they hear that type of stuff?
Yeah, it's controversial.
I'm just curious. I mean, you guys deal with how do you think young people hear that, and how do they respond to that?
I think it's dangerous. We literally just had a conversation with someone who's on the spectrum that spoke about, being able to be themselves and not being made fun of. So now if we have somebody who goes on a political stage and says, well, if they have autism, they're pretty much quadriplegic, or they can't throw a football, or they can't read and write, or they'll never be able to get married, or never be able to leave their parents' house. It's like, that's not remotely. I mean, there are cases like that, but that's 10% of everyone else. We just had someone who wrote a book. We had someone who's a speaker. So to try to put people into a box, like I said, people who aren't going to be aware of what autism is, you're really affecting the community in a very negative way by doing that, I feel like.
Yeah.
Look, I was briefly a fellow at MIT. A lot of those young people were on the spectrum.
Correct.
But they
Absolutely.
also were like a genius at
Right.
math, or they were a genius at, some kind of science or whatever. And their family had figured out a way to work with them where their gifts were more important than whatever their limitations were. And, that's probably true across the board. There are probably a lot of people who, with the right, support,
Absolutely.
can make a bigger contribution than RFK Jr.
Right.
So I don't know what he talking about. I don't know what he talking about.
Guys, you listen to Beyond the Science, so we only have a few minutes of Van Jones' time, so we appreciate him making time. Before we get out of here, just for, you've been doing this for a while, I just want to ask you, what keeps you going right now?
Well, look, we don't have the right to give up. I mean, no matter what the issue is, somebody had it worse before us. I look at all these pictures we put up on the wall, the Dr. Martin Luther King or Nelson Mandela, or you read the history books about Ella Jo Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, Bayard Rustin. These guys had bad days every day. I mean, their friends getting killed, getting beat, dogs sicked on them. Dr. King got shot in the face in front of all his friends at 39 years old, never saw his 40th birthday, never met his grandchildren. And we want to complain about a bad tweet, or just some some real, we don't have the right to be as depressed and distressed as we are. We really don't. It's a lack of perspective. It's a lack of respect for our ancestors. There's not a single ancestor that we have, your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents that wouldn't trade places with you right now in a heartbeat, no questions asked. And they would be, the first thing they would do is slap you down on the floor for having this many rights and this many freedoms, this much technology.
That they
fought for. And we're sitting up here letting it be taken away from us, and then don't even want to put up a fight or just recognize it. Listen, most of your days are good days, man.
Yeah.
Most of your days are good days compared to, folks who are forced to pick cotton and worrying about being lynched and beaten to death. Most of your days are good days. And so therefore we can do a lot more good than we do.
Yeah, it's got it. Thank you, man. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you coming on the show.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Peace.
Yes, thanks, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, good.